They thought they were 500% more. It was naughty. We ambushed the consumer. We ambushed it.
In view of the continuing and mounting evidence from many sources, it is the judgment of the committee that cigarette smoking contributes substantially to mortality from certain specific diseases and to the overall death rate.
To protect the popularity of its product, the tobacco industry began an all-out health war. While continuing to sell as many cigarettes as possible, the industry created a smokescreen behind the scenes, using suppression and denial to cover up the scientific truth about how smoking damages your health.
I would categorize the tobacco industry's strategy over the years as unscrupulous, unprincipled, immoral, and illegal.
The members of the industry were answering the charges and in effect saying this product is okay.
They not only did not provide information to the government or investors about the hazards of smoking, but deliberately covered it up, concealed it, misled people about it.
Research since the '64 Surgeon General's report has proven that smoking is even more dangerous than we originally believed.
In the early 1980s, the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company wanted a Harrison Ford look-alike to spearhead a new advertising campaign. As the Winston Man, Dave Gerlitz became a frontline soldier for the industry promoting Winston cigarettes. His job was to recruit new smokers at a time when public knowledge about the dangers of cigarette smoking was increasing. A smoker himself at the time, Gerlitz soon became concerned over his client's attitude about the very product he was promoting.
One of the executives from R.J. Reynolds came over and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm smoking." He said, "Well, you're still smoking that stuff?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "How come you guys from R.J. Reynolds don't smoke?" And he turned to me and he said, "We don't smoke the shit, we just sell it. We reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, the black, and the stupid."
This highly successful ad campaign, with Gerlitz playing a member of a search and rescue team, conveyed the essence of macho camaraderie. It was an image, says Gerlitz, designed to appeal to young smokers.
They told me on many occasions my job was to get 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 kids smoking every day to replace those who quit or died. We were getting new replacement smokers, and they, in our minds, were being told there's 12, 13, 14-year-old boys.
They knew nicotine was addictive in 1963. They knew smoking caused cancer in the 50s. And they had elaborate and intelligent plans to cover this up, to keep this information away from the public, and to keep people smoking. Passive smoking is the industry's Achilles heel. Because while the tobacco industry can keep smokers smoking and through their advertising help them rationalize their behavior of killing themselves, it's very hard to get somebody to believe they have a right to kill somebody else.
We never met, but you know me.
I'm your waitress.
I brought your coffee.
Remember the drinks? Can we ask you something? 8 hours in here. It's like smoking almost a pattern. More of us die of lung cancer and heart disease than in any other woman's job.
When you smoke a cigarette or breathe in secondhand smoke, you're putting cadmium in the air, dimethylnitrosamine, nicotine, arsenic, ammonia, lead, a whole variety of toxic chemicals, which if they were coming out of a smokestack in an industry would be very, very heavily regulated.
We keep finding brand new diseases: diabetes, arthritis, erectile dysfunction, macular degeneration that causes blindness, all directly associated with smoking.
We see smokers being more absent from work. We see them saying their quality of life is not as good. Of course, this just continues on into older ages, where all these diseases that people get, sometimes even if they didn't smoke, have become very common causes of death among smokers.
Since the first Surgeon General's report, more than 20 million Americans have been killed by cigarettes. Most were adults who smoked, but 2.5 million were non-smokers killed by secondhand smoke. And another 100,000 were babies who died from SIDS, prematurity, or other health conditions after being exposed to cigarettes either before they were born or after.
The evidence consistently and coherently points to the intentional marketing of tobacco products to youth as being the cause of young people's tobacco use.
It's easy to spot the cigarettes because they're right behind the clerk and there's a lot of them.
To spot the cigarettes at the store by my house is very easy. It's just as soon as you go in and turn, it's right there.
Behind the cash register, and it's a whole bunch of them in packs.
There's many rows and they're all lined up and there's different kinds of rows and there's cigars and cigarettes and tobacco.
When I walk up to the counter, I see magazines and I see candy and lighters and I see cigarettes.
On the counter there's a big picture and it says there's 3 sections and it says the brand of the cigarette.
It kind of shifts gum, candy, then bam, it hits you, cigarette packs, galore.
And once we're paying, I just keep on staring at them. I just don't know why.
Publicly, tobacco companies have always said they didn't want young people using their products. Privately, they've said something different.
Young adult smokers have been the critical factor in the growth and decline of every major branded company over the past 50 years.
The tobacco industry markets to youth, which means those under 18 years of age.
Our job is to change the environment so that people no longer face a lifetime of addiction to a product that will give them cancer, will give them heart disease, will give them COPD. It is within our power to end tobacco use in this country. We can do this by making it so that youth never start, and for those who wish to quit, that it's much easier for them to do so. Nicotine is highly addictive, period.
So that's going to lead us right into our discussion on point of sale. Now, essentially, point of sale marketing is marketing tobacco and vape products to consumers where they make purchases in retail stores, such as the convenience stores or gas stations, grocery stores, pharmacies, and other types of stores. Point of sale marketing includes things like price promotions or discounts on tobacco products, in-store tobacco product displays, product placement, and retail advertising. It's also important to keep in mind that this type of marketing is not random. Retailers often have contracts with tobacco companies that specify where tobacco products have to be placed, or at what height and what proportion of the display needs to be dedicated to particular products. It is a very intentional form of marketing, and tobacco companies know it works. Starting in 2014, STARS was piloted in 4 states: Indiana, Oregon, Texas, and Vermont. Since then, other states and tobacco control coalitions have incorporated STARS into their efforts. The assessments are completed using the Standardized Tobacco Assessment for Retail Settings of STARS, or STARS, developed by state and community tobacco control researchers at Stanford and other universities. STARS has been used to assess tobacco retail marketing across several states and includes questions about tobacco product availability, price and promotions, and tobacco advertising. It is important because it is the retail environment that is the driving force behind nicotine addiction and access. When we came in today, one of the staff members mentioned that there is a convenience store that we said that we would go check out, or a gas station not too far from here, where I heard rumbling, that the kids go all the time, and he was mentioning those products. So those are the types of things, and when we talk about point of sale and making those assessments, those are the types of places that we go look. We're going to take a look at that place and see what's going on with it, and see what we can do in terms of getting it on our list so that we can make an assessment. So we'll know and have that data on how close it is to the school. I have a question. Yeah, go right ahead. So, maybe it was last year I saw that they were advertising this position. I think it said for people that were under 21 but over 18. And then they would be hired to go to places to ask if they could, like to buy those products. And it said something about them being accompanied by a police officer. It would be a police officer or a state police officer. Right. Not just, of course, not going with them, but be there in the. That is one of the SAMHSA. That is one of the state's alcohol and tobacco division. They do a sting, basically. That's so what it is. So this is not something that you would go and check out and do, or? We don't do that, but when we do get the notices about their hiring and they're looking to hire some teens, we do kind of try to pass it on to our schools. We don't do it directly, but we do know about it, and we try to follow that along. That's part of the statewide database in terms of the information that we have. And what normally happens if they go in and if they sell to a minor, then they get slapped with a ticket and a fine. Do you know, if it's like a small one, or if it's like something that would impact the establishment, or? Well, let's just say that it hasn't really seemed to impact people, at this point, because they still keep selling. And particularly in our low-income communities. Right. So I think that we're going to recruit you to join our coalition. As a matter of fact, we'll just recruit all of you all.
I do have a question too.
Okay.
When teens talk about where they're finding the vape supplies and other things, are they finding those things locally to buy when they're underage, or are they buying them offline?
Mostly what we're finding out is that they're buying them online because they're underage. If you go to a website where they're selling the products, it just asks you, it's just asking you, are you over 21? All you gotta do is click yes. And then what we also are finding is how they're getting them. They're delivering them through DoorDash and, what is the other one? Uber Eats.
You can get
and everything.
Tobacco products and DoorDash. Wouldn't there be some kind of regulation? Well, I know you can get alcohol through DoorDash, but I think that there's some kind of, no, I guess they don't check at all. No, because there'd be no way for the dasher to check who you are.
Yeah. And that's why, and that is part of what we are trying to help our parents become aware of, is so that you are aware of the latest information and the latest trends. So that you can kind of check. You need to check your Amazon account. Some of those products, one or two of those products that you all had, people bring on Amazon. So, check your deliveries, check things that are coming in the mail, and all, obviously if you had someone delivering something, do it by DoorDash or Uber Eats, then, so you just need to check it out. It seems like you got a question. You got another question? Yeah. All right. So during the assessment period, normally from February 15th through April 15th, we conduct audits of places where tobacco and vape products are sold in partnership with Counter Tobacco every 2 years. We just completed 285 audits in Lake County for 2024 a few months ago, back in April, and we will share that information. We just got that information hot off the press. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind passing out the summaries, we do have a summary of that data from 2024. Now, when we study the tobacco retail environment, we look at density and proximity. Density is how many tobacco retailers there are in a particular location. In this case, we measure density as the number of retailers per 1,000 population. Proximity is a measure of how close a tobacco retailer is to another location, such as a school or another tobacco retailer. Retailers tend to cluster in some neighborhoods more than others. In particular, we saw that over half of tobacco retailers in Lake County, or 51%, were located within 500 feet of another retailer. Paying attention to this clustering of tobacco retailers is important, as smoking tends to be more prevalent among youth and adults in areas with higher retail density. I will make a note that some of the information that you're going to see on there is going to be a little bit different than what we have. This is the data from 2022, and we just got the data from 2024, and we're going to be getting it ready to present and to share with you all very soon. Now, in addition, it is important to look at the location of retailers relative to schools. Research has shown that youth smoking prevalence is higher in schools in areas with higher tobacco retailer density. Additionally, when retailers are located near schools, students may be more exposed to retail tobacco advertising. 4% of retailers statewide were located within 1,000 feet of a school, and 18%, or nearly 1 in 5, of retailers in Lake County were located within 1,000 feet of a school. There are some classroom projects that we can share, and we will be sharing with Ms. Hibbler as we move forward and as we go through the process. So the largest proportion of stores that were assessed both in Lake County and across all counties were surveyed where they were convenience stores. In addition, we surveyed liquor stores, mass merchandisers such as discount stores, grocery stores, tobacco shops, pharmacies, and other retailers. In addition to understanding the density of tobacco retailers and their proximity to schools, it is also important to understand what types of point-of-sale marketing are common among tobacco retailers. To do this, we collected standardized assessments and marketing in tobacco retailers, and we were one of 39 counties statewide where tobacco retailers were randomly selected to be assessed. Now, the assessments were completed, when we talked about that, the STARS retail assessments. Now, overall, there were 2,985 assessments completed across the 39 Indiana counties in 2022. And in 2022, we did 236 assessments. One factor that increases youth tobacco and vape use is exposure to predatory marketing tactics in the industry. This exposure to marketing normalizes the products and reduces any conception of harm. Although some forms of tobacco advertising have been restricted, youth continue to be exposed to tobacco and e-cigarette marketing through a variety of channels. In particular, tobacco companies have increasingly focused on point-of-sale marketing tactics that are not only in the retail stores, but they've also put a lot of money into social media advertising. Now, here is an example of how the tobacco industry targets youth and certain communities.
Let's talk about how big tobacco is investing in the future of this country. Our recent study found that low-income neighborhoods are more likely to have tobacco retailers near schools than other neighborhoods. How convenient. In fact, big tobacco went to the Supreme Court to keep tobacco advertising near schools. Cool. Huh. Nothing says committed to youth like a hard-won legal battle. It's not a coincidence. It's profiling. Don't let it go unseen, and list at thetruth.com. Be the generation that ends smoking.
Now, these are some photographs of our local, when we went out to do our retail assessments. Do anyone recognize any of these places? You recognize them, right?
Yeah.
So those are some of the pictures that we took when we were actually out in your neighborhood. Now, the reason why tobacco companies invest so much money in point-of-sale marketing is because they know it works. First, point-of-sale marketing has been shown to increase the likelihood that youth will start using tobacco, which includes vapes and other products, and progress to regular users. This is very important for tobacco companies because, as we saw earlier, about 9 in 10 smokers start by the time they turn 18, and about 90% start by age 26. Tobacco companies know that if young people don't start using tobacco early, they likely never will, and maintaining a base of youth and young adult smokers is crucial for sustaining their business. Additionally, the retail setting is a powerful way to reach young people, as about 7 in 10 youth shop at a convenience store at least once a week. Second, point-of-sale marketing makes it more difficult for tobacco users to quit. Research has shown that tobacco users exposed to point-of-sale marketing may experience more cravings, they are more likely to make impulse buys, and less likely to successfully quit. Point-of-sale marketing, therefore, continues to keep current tobacco users addicted and using tobacco. Finally, point-of-sale marketing disproportionately targets some communities. In particular, this type of marketing often targets communities with a high proportion of low-income or minority residents. Often, these groups are already disproportionately impacted by tobacco, so point-of-sale marketing contributes to disparities in tobacco use and tobacco-related diseases. The Indiana Youth Tobacco Survey, which is also referred to as IYTS, has been administered since 2000 to monitor youth tobacco use, cessation, and social and environmental factors related to tobacco use. The 2022 IYTS was administered in the fall of 2022 to over 5,400 students enrolled in Indiana public middle and high schools. Given the widespread promotion of tobacco at the point of sale, it is no surprise that the majority of youth report being exposed to tobacco advertising in retail settings, such as a gas station, convenience stores, and supermarkets. We asked students where they see advertising or promotions for tobacco products, and in 2022, retail settings were the most common channel reported by youth, as more than 6 in 10 Indiana youth were exposed to tobacco ads in retail settings. Youth also continue to be exposed to tobacco advertising on the internet and in newspapers or magazines, although this was somewhat less common than retail advertising exposure. In 2022, close to 4 in 10 youth reported exposure to tobacco ads on the internet, and 1 in 10 youth reported being exposed to tobacco advertising through newspapers or magazines. Additionally, 2 in 10 youth reported seeing actors using tobacco in movies or TV shows. And I want to say too, when we are referring to tobacco, that includes all forms, be it cigarettes, vapes, and also your chew, your snus, all forms of tobacco. Now this is concerning, as depictions of tobacco use in TV and movies has been shown to increase the likelihood that youth will use tobacco. One of the questions on the youth tobacco surveys asked students if they have ever used tobacco products. Now this slide provides another way to visualize whatever use of tobacco looks like. Over 1 in 10 middle school students have ever tried tobacco. Over 1 in 5 high school students have ever tried tobacco. In addition to flavored products, some tobacco marketing tactics, such as the price and placement of tobacco products, particularly target our youth. Youth are very price sensitive. We often don't have a lot of money to spend, as we hear them saying, on tobacco products, so cheap products tend to appeal to a lot of them. We have some examples of some e-cigarettes that we picked up. We can pick up the device for 99 cents. Often, tobacco products such as cigars are priced much more cheaply than cigarettes. And as we just, and as we talk about it, they are also often available in a variety of flavors that appeal to you. Now, tobacco products and tobacco ads may also be placed where they are highly visible to younger siblings, such as at a child's eye level or near candy, soda, or toys. Have you ever gone into a convenience store, or you've gone into one of the gas stations and you see a sign that's on front of the counter? That's by design. That's at a child level. That's at the child's eyesight. And here is another example of how the tobacco industry targets youth. In the places where kids go, physically and virtually.
Have you guys tried the brain freeze? No, brain freeze sounds disgusting. It smells like sour gummy worms. Oh, I love it. It's so good. You guys have to try it. What about dragon's blood? I feel like that'd be like a chance.
You just missed the tobacco industry's latest scam.
Have you guys tried the brain freeze?
Because you were supposed to.
Sour gummy worms. Yeah, oh, I love it. Do you want some?
Sure.
Now, when we collected the data in 2022, flavored tobacco use was quite common among Hoosier youth who use tobacco. In particular, nearly 2 in 3 of middle school students who currently use tobacco, and that's 64.7%, reported using at least one flavored product. And nearly 3 in 4 high school students who currently use tobacco use at least one type of flavored tobacco product. Now, flavors continue to be popular and are known to attract youth, especially when flavored products are also available at cheap price points, like little cigars and cigarillos. As we looked at individual products that we know come in flavored varieties, and we saw that about 76% of those currently using e-cigarettes, both in middle school and high school, have used a flavored product in the last 30 days. About 30% of high school students that use little cigars or cigarillos use flavored products. Now in 2024, addition to commercial tobacco products such as e-cigarettes, for the 2024 assessments, we collected data on THC products, alcohol products, soda pop, and the availability of healthy choices of fresh fruits. I wanted to show you this picture because when we talk about how the tobacco industry and the e-cigarette industry are using things that are familiar to kids to lure kids, I think that we all know the popsicle, famous popsicle. So the other picture on the other side is an e-cigarette liquid. Once again, and another example of how using the familiar to lure kids. We all know what a Sprite is. If you look very closely at the e-cigarette, the spelling is slightly off. So instead of one I, it looks like it's 2 I's in there. And again, this is another example of luring our kids, as we saw earlier today. And we asked both middle school and high school students why they are currently using e-cigarette, and students could select multiple reasons. The most commonly reported reason for using e-cigarettes was due to feeling anxious, stressed, or depressed. This was especially true for middle school students. Other reasons include wanting to get a buzz or high from nicotine, social influences, like friends or family using them, the ability to use them discreetly at home, and the availability of flavors. Flavors were a top 3 reason for using e-cigarettes among middle school students. Now we know that on average, it takes a person who uses tobacco 6 to 11 attempts before they are able to overcome their tobacco and nicotine addiction. And an overwhelming majority of people who use tobacco as well as non-users agree that quitting is difficult. Many were not prepared for the vaping crisis that has affected youth in recent years. Now there is a new generation of youth who are faced with tobacco and nicotine addiction. In producing solutions to keep young people from using or possessing tobacco products at schools, we have recognized that punitive measures may not be the most effective in treating tobacco addiction or preventing future violations. According to the CDC, tobacco addiction is responsible for about 1 of every 5 deaths in the United States. I include this slide to give you an example of how addictive nicotine is. As you can see, the parts of the brain that is colored in green, the parts of the brain that is affected by cocaine, and then you have cannabis, you have alcohol, you have opiates, and the large part of the brain, almost the entire brain, is how nicotine affects the brain. That's why it is labeled as highly addictive. Now, we are familiar with the harmful effect of traditional cigarette use, but do we know about vaping health effects? First, there are high levels of nicotine in most e-cigarettes. And as I click through here, you can see how the brain gets rewired. There are changes in the brain. The heart beats faster due to the flight or fight, or fight or flight, let me read that backwards, response. And trouble with breathing and damage to the lungs, and then increased acid reflux. We have a lot of research, and we have many years of research on cigarettes. What we don't have is a lot of research on e-cigarettes. So we don't know all of the effects, the long-term effects of using e-cigarettes and vaping.
I heard vaping is like more worse than smoking. Like it affects the lungs more or something.
On my next slide, I'm going to give you and show you an example of how we can go with that. And vaping increases the risk of tobacco use disorder and the use of other substances, especially marijuana. Recent research finds that among kids who had never used marijuana, any reported e-cigarette use significantly increased the odds of using marijuana a year or two later. So, to your question, here's an example of, as I click through this, when we talk about it being worse. So if you have a pack of cigarettes, it's like 20 cigarettes. You have 20 cigarettes. Now with the Juul, that's equivalent to 37 cigarettes. I have a question. Wasn't Juul banned in like some states or?
Yeah, I thought they lost like a big lawsuit. Like
they had a big lawsuit. They weren't banned. But certain flavors of the Juul were banned. But there was a big lawsuit, and there were Indiana was one of the states that did get some of the monies from that lawsuit, but they weren't banned. Banned. Your flavors were banned. Okay. You still can get. I believe there's a mint, which pretty much is menthol. Menthol. There were a few other flavors. There are flavors that they had, like I think the cream brulee, those type of flavors were banned.
And it's so frustrating. Well, I've never smoked. But the one time I was in the casino, we were like watching this stand-up comedy show, and there were some people sitting in front of us, and this lady was vaping, and the smell of her vape was so good. I was like, oh my god, it smells so, you know what I mean? Of course, like I said, I'm not interested in vaping. I've never smoked, but the smell was so nice. It was so like
yeah. So if Juul can't do flavors anymore, can these other companies still do flavors? Is the government like, we have to sue them each individually?
Pretty much. Some of them have figured out how to get under the regulation. And
there's
as a matter of fact, I
always
have some
loopholes, right?
flavors that I just recently purchased. So yeah, there are flavors that are available. So let me look through this a little bit more. With the fume float, it's like smoking 363 cigarettes. And then with the elf bar, it is like smoking 590 cigarettes. And here's the thing, when they're puffing on an e-cigarette, unless some of the newer models, and we have an example here, the ones that have the meter on them where you can see how many puffs you have left, how much battery you have left, the ones that don't have those meters on it, if they're puffing on an e-cigarette, if they're just puffing, puffing, and puffing, there is no limit to how much nicotine they're getting. So they don't know.
They're unaware of how much they're really consuming.
Right. When you smoke a cigarette and your cigarette is done, it's done. If you're puffing all day long on your, and I believe one of those e-cigarettes, one of those devices has like, I want to say close to maybe 30,000 puffs. So. So we wanted to, as we begin to kind of wrap things up, we wanted to share, we have information on the student cessation resources that are available. Not only are they available to students, but they're available to you as well, to the parents, in order to really kind of educate yourself on what's out there, what the trends are, and how you can help. There is a need and an opportunity for adults to be educated. That's what we're here to do tonight. Now, 1/3 of parents reported being very concerned about their kids vaping. 36% of parents had no awareness of certain brands of e-cigarettes, and 49% of parents who are aware of select e-cigarettes know they contain nicotine. Now, in addition to the Quit for Life program tailored to youth, Quit Now Indiana offers the Live Vape Free program for youth and adults. Most young people have heard about vaping from someone, often their peers. They need to hear from the adults in their lives too. Now, Live Vape Free is a teen and adult solution to help solve the vaping epidemic. It includes a text-based vaping cessation program for teens and young adults, and an online course to empower parents and concerned adults to support teens who want to quit. Helping Teens Live Vape Free adult program features online content that prepares parents and other concerned adults to kickstart the conversation about vaping, including a video, interactive activities, and a toolkit that supports initiating an ongoing discussion with your teens. Live chat or email with coaches who can answer questions about vaping, talking to teens, and how to support teens beginning their quit journey. And you have all of that information in the information that we distributed. And of course, if there are any questions or if you want more information, don't hesitate to let us know. I wanted to add a few more details on the Live Vape Free Adult program, which features the online content that prepares parents and other concerned. I know this sounds like I'm repeating myself, and pretty much I am, about the vaping. And so, we wanted to have teens and parents to have a place to go to learn about the harms of vaping and hear from their peers, and most importantly, have a place to take action when they are ready. Now, parents and other adults are given a wide variety of media-rich resources that they can use as a conversation starter. Now, each lesson takes roughly about 15 to 20 minutes to complete, and lessons are sequenced for engagement and variety and include interactive activities and some additional articles and videos as well. Now, the youth program was developed using research from youth focus groups, and Live Free Teen is an interactive texting program that helps teens ages 13 to 17 build motivation, a quit plan, and a strategy to stay quit. The texts include links to videos, quizzes, podcasts, and other activities. In addition to offering a fun factor, the links help teens build insight into how to quit successfully. And as we are coming to a close, closing out, after years of steady decline in youth tobacco use, the number of students using new tobacco products has increased, coinciding with the emergence of all kinds of e-cigarettes, and other devices, with e-cigarettes being the most commonly used tobacco product among middle and high school students. Today, some of the bigger concerns are with the use of those flavors and substances added to the vapes, and we don't know all of the chemicals that are added. Despite claims that their tactics are aimed at adult smokers, tobacco companies continue to use these things and packaging that appeal to youth and promote their products in places visited by young people. Because we cannot end the tobacco epidemic without preventing initiation among young people, it is critical that programs engage youth in tobacco control efforts. And your students can be powerful allies to help communicate the impact of tobacco use on young people, implement effective tobacco control strategies, and shift social norms around tobacco and vape use in their schools and communities. Getting them involved in the solutions is best practice for comprehensive substance prevention. The Indiana Voice program is one way our teens get to advocate for their health and the well-being of their peers. So today's overall takeaways. First, we know that the tobacco industry relies heavily on point-of-sale tactics to market their products, spending 95% of their annual marketing budget on point-of-sale marketing. And their main targets are teens. You can help raise awareness by staying connected to the issues and the mission to educate, empower, and engage our students. Second, we know that tobacco marketing encourages youth to use tobacco and vape products. It makes quitting tobacco more difficult and disproportionately targets some communities, which contributes to disparities in tobacco-related health outcomes. Your support is important for healthy communities. I want to say thank you, and unfortunately, on this particular slide, our contact information is missing, but just hold on, and we'll make sure that we can get that for you all. And I just want to say thank you. Now we're going to open up the floor to any questions.